You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
All right, we got to cut this crap off. We got a lot of show to get to today, and I do not have time. How's it going, everybody? This is Sorry. I just hear that so goddamn much. Change it up, Brian. Change it up. Anyway, you were joined for the third edition of the Peach Machine Parade. I am your host, the Peach Machine, and we are going to be having on a special guest tonight. His name on the board is known as Klitts. We're going to get to the bottom of that. We'll figure out a lot of things that this man has been supposedly up to. We're going to figure out what his origin of his name is. We're going to have a lot of fun and just shoot some shit about Vegas because Klitts man was there. He had a lot of interesting interactions, especially with Granny. So we're going to hear about that. Before we get started here, I just want to give our sponsors a little plug here, f4wonline.com. Don't forget about the WrestlingObserver.com, same site, excellent newsletters, blah, blah, blah. Listen to Brian and Vinny. AngryMarks.com. Stevie J was on last week. Hell of a man. Go there. They will also have the feed of this up there if you want to download it. Drunkcast. Drunkcast is every Friday night at, I believe, 9 Central. I can't remember, Ed. Sorry, buddy. But blogtalkradio.com/EdLaredo. Don't forget, I just was informed that Logan Time Traveler has his own new show. We're going to try to get Logan on here, and his blogtalkradio.com/The Pro Wrestling Opinions Show. That's opinions, plural, show. So check out his show. I don't know exactly when it's on, but we are going to definitely get Logan on here. He's an interesting fellow, and maybe we'll see what time he's traveled back to and what his opinions on wrestling are. I like to keep this show moving forward and not about pro wrestling or UFC or MMA or anything fighting. We know that Brian and Dave write a whole newsletter, 2 whole newsletters, 7,000 times a week. There's 8,500 shows you can listen to all about professional wrestling. And we're just not going to do that here. So, we're waiting for Klitts to call in, and I would just like to give a brief update. Don't forget tomorrow, World Cup soccer action, or is that Friday morning? I'm sorry, Friday morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, the United States playing their second game. They tied England 1-1, so I'll be looking forward to that. I just got home this past weekend. I was on a cruise to Cozumel with a couple of clowns, and I'm going to tell you about that maybe a little bit later when Klitts gets on the line because I think he might enjoy hearing some of the stories that we brought back, including going to a whorehouse. That's right. I did go to a Mexican whorehouse over the past weekend, and it was not exactly what you'd expect, or maybe exactly what you'd expect, being my first time into one of these city marketplaces or something. Anyway, Cozumel, Mexico, went on a trip with my good friend Roderick Strong and Kenny King and Eric Stevens and Kenny King's good friend, Amin something or other, and we all had a hell of a time kicking it down on the cruise, running the ship, and it wiped my ass out. I slept for 12 hours when I got home on Monday, and then 12 hours last night when I got home on Tuesday. It was awesome. It was awesome. It was definitely not a gay cruise, Ed, even though I know that you immediately jumped on that one and said, oh, look at that, 5 dudes, they're just going to be ass-raping the hell out of each other. Well, you're going to have to just wait and listen to me talk about it later because it was not a gay cruise. In fact, it was a moderately successful cruise when it comes to that sort of thing. And, you know, I know you're a big fan of purchasing sex, Edward, but we didn't do that. One final thing I would like to plug here. We're looking to have Jakey on the show next week, so that should be interesting. I know he's a big fan of all of our members and all of our site people, and he is going to have some interesting things to say. But right now, we have the man Klitts on the air, and I'm going to put him on the air right now. And I think he might have just hung up, but lost him. If that was you, Klitts, call back. So, another thing I want to clear up here. I am not gay. Even though everyone thinks that I am completely straight because it's a little bit odd. And even though I may look like a man, I'm actually a female-to-female transsexual. I think Ann Nicole Smith, that's more what I'm into. So, no, again, not gay. I'm going to try to put this caller on the line. So, God damn it, it's my fault, caller. I keep hanging up on you. I'm pressing the wrong fucking button. I learned that from Ed because I didn't learn anything from him because he never let me work the switchboard. because he had to prevent me from playing awesome drops like the ones we were going to revisit here at some point in time. Call back, caller. Call back. It's, here we go. I know which button to click now. Area code 704, you're on the air.
3 times the charm, huh?
Man, I am a dumbass.
Why are you hanging up on me every time?
I was clicking the phone that I assumed was never mind. Long story short, I apologize. Klitts, what's going on, baby?
Oh, I'm sitting here just taking it easy tonight. Just got done going to IKEA. I know it sounds pretty fucking gay, but I'm moving into a new house here in about a few weeks or so. So figured it was time to go look at some furniture and whatnot.
Now, are you purchasing this home, or is this a lateral movement to another house, or a backward step to your parents' house?
No, I'm not. I haven't been in my parents' house since I was 19, and I never will go back to my parents' house. I don't care if I have to sell my body to do it. I will not do it. Can't do it.
For someone who recently left their parents' house for I was only there for about 3 weeks because I was homeless. Yeah, wanted to hang myself about day 2 after the 80th time my parents did a load of laundry while I was trying to sleep in the basement. Regardless, we're getting off that subject. So where are you moving? I know we all know you're from Charlotte. Are you staying in there?
Yeah. Actually, there's a thread about it for all the geeks on the board that are also our friends. It is a nicer area in Charlotte. I've been in the area where I went to school over here at UNC Charlotte for like 6 years now. And basically, not to be racist or anything, but there's a lot of riffraff over here, and it's about time to move to a nicer area, get out of the riffraff, be able to walk around at night without having to get my hands on my keys and get ready to fight. So, we're going to a nicer area, actually getting a townhouse instead of an apartment, and lots of hot chicks around. You can walk to the bars, you can get wasted, walk back, bring the girls back, and you know how it works. Works all good, man.
I know how that works. And so I am assuming the riffraff you're referring to is white people?
Yes, whites, right. Indians with the dot, not the feather. There's not many feather Indians over here. A couple Mexicans, a couple black people. It's all like, it's a very, very big melting pot here in Charlotte. There's not just one race here. There's a lot of idiots of all colors. Cool,
man. Well, I am glad to see that you are I would call that a step up in the right direction. Now, I mean, unlike myself, who actually, I was sleeping on an air mattress last night, and it did pop, and I was rolled up like a taco of, whatever that material is, felt when I woke up.
Rubber or whatnot.
Suffocating in the rubber sheets. Yeah, it was fabulous. But I got that straightened out. And so we're here to talk to you today because you were the man that no one had seen before, no one met because you hadn't been to a convention. And then in this fourth one, you finally made an appearance. So why don't you go ahead and give us some of your highlights?
Oh, man. I will say that when they say joke around about not getting any sleep, I took that a little bit literally. I think I got a total of maybe 5 or 6 hours the entire 3.5 days or whatever I was there. There were so many highlights, man. Every day there's a new highlight. It's almost like, can you top the day before? And I'll tell you what, me and Fred, actually, our Frederick, we hung out for a while. He's actually everything you would think he would be. Just completely wasted out of his mind all the time. He's got this, permanent, grin on his face. You don't know if that means, he's thinking up of some kind of a plan, or he's just probably, thinking about some fucking, 2 mouses battling over a piece of cheese or something. So that was awesome. And the suite was pretty cool. I thought it was funny when everybody started, surrounding Dave, and I just was like, okay, so, me and Cannister and M-Rob and all, and this is before you got there, I believe, right before you got there. We were just out there talking, and Sean showed up, and Sean's very, just impartial to the whole situation. He's just a guy from L.A. He has no idea. He just thought it was hilarious that a bunch of geeks were getting together for this wrestling convention, and so he goes out there and he sits in the middle of this, kumbaya session with Dave. He just stares at Dave like a schoolgirl, just to fuck with him. But knowing everybody on the board that's in that room, they all knew what he was doing. They just all glared at him like, get the fuck out of this room right now. You're in the presence of Dave Meltzer. So he just got up and walked away. But I remember Dave walked over to the fridge, and at this point I had, quite a few coffee cups full of whiskey. And I went, Dave, whiskey? And he goes, water's fine. So I looked over and said, all right, so let me get my drink refill first. So I put the last 2 pieces of ice that we had in that fridge that was completely dry of ice into my cup, poured whiskey in it, and poured Dave a glass of horse piss warm water. That's my story of that. Yeah, that one, and there was a story about Dix the next night.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, Dave has just always been Dave, and anytime anyone has an interaction with Dave, I want to hear about it because I would like to just be a wall or a fly on the wall at his house and just listen to him. Do nonsense.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
I remember that carried that joke on to the next night too, because at Dick's, him and Brian showed up really late to the party, and I saw Brian. I'm like, okay, cool, Brian's here. Time to get him wasted. Well, then I saw Dave. Fuck, is Dave Meltzer doing in Dick's bar? So I walked over to him just to be a smart ass because I didn't forget the night before. I said, hey, Dave, what's going on? And he goes, that's not much, man. I'm like, hey, you want a water or something? He just goes, he looks around and surveys the scene. He goes, no, I'm good. He takes his phone up and he walks away, and I never saw him again.
Not even the water. The water was too much for him. He wanted nothing to do with that.
I had to offer him a water with ice this time, but yeah. And actually, I sat across from Dave at the dinner. It was kind of impromptu because Granny wanted me to sit next to her. I think Granny had a little bit of a crush on me, much to Brian's chagrin. But I sat across from Dave, and truth be told, we really didn't talk much about wrestling unless Brian would just kind of bring it up. Or it just seemed like Dave's got 2 modes. There's David Meltzer, who I guess is a David Meltzer that his wife and kids and his close personal friends see. And he just kind of laid back, doesn't say much. He just kind of just is there in the moment, maybe a little bit comatose at times. And then there's a Dave Meltzer. There's Big Dave. And when he hits that switch, and he usually hits it himself, it's just MMA or wrestling, he just goes off. I remember I was sitting at the table, and he just talking, and they were asking about his family and stuff, and he was just talking about it. He just kind of gave them really short answers and really just blunt answers and being really kind of quiet and subdued about it. So then they just stopped talking, and about a couple minutes later, he goes, so Brian, I got the numbers back from the fight show, from the build-up show. He goes, oh, you did? And then he just starts going off, just like it's a show you listen to every other week. And so that was Dave. Dave was, it was just funny to listen to Dave. That's just 2 completely different Daves, and that's like he's a machine. I mean, he just goes there, and you would think he'd be annoyed to sit in a group of 20 dudes asking him the same questions about wrestling, but he just fed off of it. I don't know how to explain it. He just seriously fed off of it like a gremlin. It was ridiculous.
I was witness to all of this, and I just could not believe that he just would even put up with our horrible manners and whatnot, because you just think of him as just this. He's like a robot or something. And one more anecdote here, and we'll get to you because you're the man of the hour here. And I believe it might have been you that told me the story when he made a phone call home, and his son, his 5 or 6-year-old son named Cody, answered the phone. He said, hello, Cody, this is Dave. Not, hey, it's Dad. Is Mom there? It was just this robotic, Cody, this is Dave. Transport information about professional wrestling.
No,
I don't know.
That wasn't me. I just would have been like, what in the Sam fuck is going on here? I mean, maybe it's because I'm on a different coast. Maybe I don't know how it works, but, I mean, who knows, man. I mean,
now, one story,
I had a great time, though.
Oh, absolutely. We all had a great time, and anyone who didn't come, you got to be next year. You got to be there. It's good. We're going to outdo it this year. Now, I didn't get all the rundown on this, but apparently you did make some lady friend connections, both with Granny, which I'll let you talk about your interactions with Granny, and with another one, and possibly a school teacher. So why don't you go ahead and give us a couple of those?
Well, I guess you can, if you count Granny, there are 3 total, none of which I had to pay for. So that's good. So Ed may have been the first guy to get laid in Vegas, but as far as I know, may have been the first guy to never have to pay for sex in Vegas, unless you probably beat me to that one, but who knows? I mean, I wasn't there the years previous, so who knows? But, yeah, Granny, I picked up Granny from the airport, and she immediately started getting on me about me being a ladies' man. She goes, I hear you get into a lot of trouble with the ladies. And I'm like, oh, no, Granny, I keep my manners. I keep my P's and Q's. And she goes, well, I don't want you getting arrested here in Vegas. I want you to have fun, but I don't have to bail you out. And I'm like, okay, Granny. And then at dinner, she says she has this bag with her, like a gift bag. And I got this camera. I'm taking his YouTube video for like a video diaries. I'm like, what's in the bag, Granny? And she says, well, come here. I want you to see this. And so I sit down next to her, and she takes his shirt out. She goes, I want you to wear this. And it's a Granny's Gang shirt. I'm like, oh, you want me to wear this? Yeah. She goes, I want you to wear it. I'm like, me? She goes, yeah. I'm like, when? She goes, right now. I'm like, you want me to take my clothes off right now at dinner? And she goes, well, yeah. I'm like, Granny, that's lewd. But I wore that shirt for it a little bit. Then we passed on to, I think, Teddy, and I think Rodney wore it, and I think Fred wore it for a little bit too. But it eventually got back to Brian somehow, and now Brian's wearing it back in Washington. But the school teacher is probably the best story I can tell, and if you don't believe me, then ask Fred. You can ask Hath. You can ask. There's a couple other people. This story is as true as it is. I mean, I couldn't make this stuff up, but me and Fred. This all stems from the strip club trip, which I don't know how much of it you actually saw, but you guys left me there with a girl in the private room who looked like a newscaster here in Charlotte who I fell in love with until she put her vagina in my face and said, use that tongue of yours. And I said, no, ma'am, no, thank you. I'd already made out with her for like 20 minutes out there in the back, but she'd already drained me of $160. So I get out.
So she was a stripper, in fact. She was a stripper or just a girl there?
No, this is a different girl. This is a girl at the strip club.
She was a girl at the strip club whom you left with. Okay.
No, this is a different girl. There's two different girls that night. At the strip club, when I left that dance, I realized you guys were gone. So I told her to hold on a second, and I texted M-Rob. He said you guys were at the Excalibur, and that he was at the Cat House. And I guess you guys were over there, too, and I can't remember if you were there or not, but I know Jen was with her friends. So I'm like, okay, fuck it. I got $20 left to see if this cat takes me over to the Excalibur. So I did. So I go over to the Excalibur, hook up with you guys, and then we, I think, closed that bar out. And then we went over to another bar called Flight, and that Flight bar pretty much stayed open 24/7. I mean, I was getting drinks there at 6 a.m. I remember they just never closed. But me and Fred go over there, and this guy in a white shirt's over there goes, hey, man, what's going on? And I'm like, who the fuck is this? And Fred's like, I have no idea who it was. Well, looking back on it, this guy was Ed's supervisor. Do you remember Ed's supervisor?
Okay. Yeah, he was at the suite for a second, perhaps, and then at the strip club for a second.
Yeah, he was at the strip club. Well, I had completely forgotten at this point because, I mean, I was pretty drunk. I mean, I had been iced, I had shotgun beers, we'd been drinking whiskey. I mean, I was pretty drunk at this point. Plus, he had the vodka we had at the strip club. Well, so I'm like, whatever, dude, I'll just hang out and pretend I know you for a little bit. Well, he had, like, these 5 Asian girls and 1 blonde chick with him, and the 5 Asian girls were kind of hot, you know, short hair. Never really had an Asian girl, but I wouldn't mind. But the blonde chick was hot. She had really big boobs. She had long, curly, sex fuck-me hair. You know, the great blonde fuck-me hair, kind of like Maurice. You know, like really hot hair. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to talk to this chick. So me and Fred, you know, sit down on this little stool with this chick. We talk for a little while, and the chick's pretty hot. She's pretty cool. She's complaining about her age. I'm like, you can't possibly be older than 30. And she goes, I'm not. I'm like, okay, well, what are you bitching about? And she said, well, I'm 27. And I said, and you're complaining about being old? And so she's like, yeah. I'm like, sweetheart, don't worry about that. You look just fine as you are. And she goes, oh, thank you. Now, where are you from with that accent? I said, Charlotte, North Carolina, sweetheart. And she goes, oh, I'm from L.A. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, this is going to work tonight. So we're sitting over there.
What are you basing that on? What does her being from L.A. have anything to do with anything?
Because she drove down there. She obviously knows the spots in Vegas. She's obviously there to fucking have a good time. She doesn't live in Vegas. If she's a local in Vegas, then she's not going to go and have a one-night stand. This is my take on it. So we're talking for a little while, and me and Fred are like going back and forth with her, and then I go to the bathroom, and I come back, and Hath is there. And I know Hath's not trying to mimic my game because Hath brought his girl with him. So Hath left. The girl just, for some reason, starts mentioning her ex-boyfriend and how much of a douche he was, and she goes, you know what I did for him? We were like, what? She says, you know, I started watching wrestling because he loved wrestling so much. So, like, I purposely started watching wrestling and getting into it and researching all these wrestlers and figuring out who was good and who was bad, who was old and who was new. And she's talking about this and look over at Fred. And I think he's thinking the same thing I'm thinking, which is, of all the girls to run into to be talking about any subject on this planet, we are here for 3 days out of the year at a wrestling convention, and what is she talking about? Wrestling.
Pro wrestling.
And she is a first-grade teacher, by the way. She taught 3rd grade, 5th grade, and 1st grade, if I remember correctly, but she was on 1st grade. So she's talking about Jericho being her favorite. She hates Cena, you know, all all good things. And she says, yeah. She goes, well, I'm looking around, so should we tell her? And Fred looks at me, and he has no idea what I'm going to say. He goes, yeah. I said, well, we own this site. And she goes, well, what site? I said, we own a site called WrestlingObserver.com. And she, of course, thinks we're bullshit, and so she pulls it up. And she's like, oh, well, this is pretty cool. She goes, well, how many people are on there? I'm like, thousands. It's all across the world. We're the #1 leading newsletter on MMA and wrestling. And she goes, well, if you're Daniel and he's Fred, then who's Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer? And I was like, oh, they're just 2 of our main reporters. They work for us. They're fine. They're cool. So she's eating all this up. And just when I didn't think it could get any better, she starts speaking in Carney. I swear to God, on a stack of Bibles, she starts speaking in Carney. And
now, did she reveal herself to be Pingu or something odd like this?
No, she was, I mean, I love Pingu, but this girl was just gorgeous. Have you ever seen Smallville, the Superman TV show?
I know of it, yes.
All right, well, do you know the girl that was America was swooning over, who looks, she's Lois Lane. She's like this kind of brunette blonde girl,
right,
really hot.
Lois Lane, I know who that is, yes.
Imagine her with blonde hair and huge tits. This is who I thought
fabulous.
she was. So, like, I'm telling her all night she looks like Lois Lane, and she's like, oh, thank you, blah, blah, blah. Well, once she starts speaking in Carney, me and Fred are like, okay, I think we settle in for the night. Let's just do this thing. So Ed's supervisor walks over, and he goes, hey, guys, going to the hot tub. I'm like, what fucking hot tub? It's 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. He's like, yeah, we'll go upstairs. And he's got all these Asian girls with him. And one of the Asian girls is giving us, like, a really bad look. Like, I introduced myself and everything, but she's giving us this really, like, go-to-hell look. So we're like, oh, fuck it, let's go. She goes, yeah, come on with us. And we get up and we go with Meg, who is the blonde girl. Her name's Meg. So we go up to this hotel room. This is, I guess, Saturday morning at, like, 7:30 in the morning. And we get in there, and the first thing I see is Ed's supervisor in his boxers coming up to me, shaking my hand. I still have no clue who this guy is because I completely still forgot. And first thing he does is run to the hot tub. It's like a suit with a hot tub in it. He runs to the hot tub, gets completely butt-ass naked, and jumps in. So, Ed's supervisor, if you're out there, I saw your dick. I don't want to ever see it again.
Oh, it's unfortunate. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. We decide we don't want to get in the hot tub with Ed's supervisor and his dick. So we go over to the bar area where there's a nice new, fresh new, actually it's not even out of the box yet, bottle of Johnny Walker Black, which lights up Fred's eyes to a 12-year-old on Christmas morning. And so he walks over and gets the bottle out, and we're about to have a great time. I got my gin and tonic, and here comes the Asian bitch. She goes, Meg, we got a problem. Well, what's going on? She goes, well, there's not enough girls and too many guys, so somebody's got to leave. And she looks at me and Fred, and I'm thinking, oh, shit, we really getting kicked out of this place. And she looks over at Fred, and she walks in. Yes, she's being a complete cunt. Turns out she's a lesbian, so that's why she was a cunt. So she walks over to Fred. Yeah, I thought we had, like, more girls than guys, but 2 of them are lesbians, so it cancels each other out. So she walks over to Fred, and she says, yeah, you got to leave. And Fred's got his drink with him, and he just looks at her and he goes, what? She's like, you got to leave. He said, why? There's just too many of you, and I would like you to leave, so get the fuck out. And he looks at me and looks at Meg and goes,
wow.
Well, he goes, I'm not leaving. So she gets pissed and, like, storms off. And what does Fred do? He walks over to the Johnny Walker Black, pulls it out of the box, and pours about, I don't know, 5 or 6 shots in this cup. He goes, fuck it. I'm going to get my liquor out of this. And so Fred's getting ready to walk out, and I'm like, Fred, fuck it. Well, I'll go with you. You know, we'll just go. This isn't even worth it. So we walk out the door. Well, Meg storms out after us, the owners of WrestlingObserver.com. She storms out after us, and she's like, guys, just, you know, fuck all this. She's being a bitch. She's being a total whore. Let's just go to the pool. It's like 8 a.m. by now. And she goes, maybe a pool's open. There's one downstairs. It's got a grotto in it. I'm like, all right. So it's 8 a.m. We have no fucking clue where we're at. Yeah, sure. Well, then the Asian bitch comes running out. She goes, I'm sorry, guys. The guy in the hot tub told us who you were. Everything's cool. And I'm like, who the fuck is this guy who just saved her ass? I still have no clue who he is. So,
and how did he know your lie?
I had no idea. So we walk back in, and he's out of the hot tub at this point. They're getting dressed. I think he laid in the bed with a girl, and he's hooking up with her. There's 2 beds, and he's laying in there with one of them. And so then me, Meg, and Fred get into the hot tub, and, of course, we are not prepared to get in a hot tub, so just me and Fred in our boxers and her in her bathing suit with her titties hanging out. So they got the curtains pulled, but there's one glimmer of light of Las Vegas sunshine come in. It hits me right in the face. It's 8-something in the morning. I just started getting a hangover at this point. I'm like, fuck my life. The water, the hot water, and the jacuzzi and the sunlight, it wasn't good. But the best part was when I sat down in the hot tub, and the first thing she did was roll over and just plant one on me, just wrap her legs around me. And I'm looking over at Fred.
Oh, yeah.
Fred's got this look on his face. It's the same grin he had the entire trip, just this look of, like, pure awe and amazement and kind of a little bit of glee in there. And he just kind of looking at me, just smiling. And I'm kind of mouthing to him, like, what the fuck? So she starts licking my ear, and she's kissing my neck, and she's rubbing me all over, and she goes, get him out. And I'm like, get him out. She goes, yeah, get him the fuck out. And I said, no. She goes, I want to fuck you. Get him out. And so I look at him, and I'm out. She wants to fuck me. What the fuck do I do? And he just says nothing. He just sits there and looks at me, just grinning. So I high-five him while she's kissing me. And then she takes her foot and she kicks him. And then she just turns around and she's like, yeah, your boy's about to get some, so unless you want to watch, you might want to get out. And then Fred with another great line, he goes, oh, I think I get the hint. So he gets up. He gets up. There's, like, stairs to get out of this thing. Fred's wasted. So what does he do? He busts his ass in front of everybody. They hear glass shattering. I don't know what happened. He stands up. His hand is gashed. There's blood all over his hand. He just looks at us, picks up his clothes, waves with his bloody hand, and walks out the door. He ends up walking through a casino at 9 o'clock in the morning in just his wet boxers and got chastised by the security. So it's just me in this hot tub with this girl, right next to 2 queen-size beds full of 2 lesbians, ed supervisor, and another girl. That's when we start getting down to business, and we're there for a couple hours. I know we were there because the timer on the jets went off every 15 minutes, so I have to go and I'd push it again. So I did it like 7 or 8 times. I remember I had to do it over and over and over again. And I started getting really tired, man, because this is like 2 straight days with no sleep. And, you know, that you're kind of drunk. You haven't had any sleep. You're in a hot tub.
Kind of drunk, man. You've been drinking for like 29 hours here.
Okay, I can't really distinguish the difference between kind of drunk and, like, just really tired at this point. Like, you're starting to hallucinate. You're starting to, like, not know where you are or what you are or when you are. And so I'm laying there. She's kissing on my neck, and I look over to her. I don't know why I said this, but I look at her and I said, Lewis, you have to follow your you have to follow your destiny and work for the Daily Planet. And she says, Lewis? And she goes, okay, it's time to leave. And so she gets out of the hot tub, and I'm like, no, Lewis Lane. You know, I called you Lewis Lane earlier. She goes, oh, okay, you're so cute. And fucking jumps back in the hot tub. And I'm like, no, I think it's time we get out because I'm about to pass out. This water's getting to me, this hot water. And so she runs in there to take a shower, and I'm getting dressed, and I got to, free ball it because my underwear's wet. So she's in the shower. I'm watching her take a shower. And she gets out, and she's like, well, let me walk you to your cab. And I'm like, okay, well, get dressed for it. And she goes, well, no, I'm just going to wear this. She's just wearing a towel. And I'm like, no, that's not going to work. She goes, well, all right, well, one more thing from you. So in the bathroom, she plops her ass up on the counter, so we go to town. And at this point, we had been going to town for a few hours, quite a few hours. So we had a banging on the door from one of the roommates told us to shut the fuck up or get out because we were making them not have any sleep whatsoever, including Ed's boss. So with that, I humbled her one last time, walked out, never saw her again, and I'm pretty sure Ed's supervisor saw me getting my freak on many, many, many times. And that was that night.
Oh, my.
And then actually I called Rodney with my phone that was dead. I had one call, so I called Rodney. I'm walking down the casino with my boxers in my hand, soaking. He goes, hey, man, what's up? And I'm like, Rodney, help me, Coco. And he goes, man, what's going on, man? Where you at? I'm like, I'm drunk. I'm at the Excalibur, and I got wet boxes in my hand. Come get me. He goes, well, do you want me to come get you? We'll get a cab. And I'm like, well, I will. And then my phone dies right there. So I use my logic and just get in the cab and go home. But he already took his logic and came to go and get me. Well, by the time he got there, realized I wasn't there, and came back, I was already in the bed, passed out, and he realized he wasn't going to fuck with me. But he was so pissed off with me that night because he thought I was getting killed or something. But that was my Friday night.
That is a fabulous story, and it took you about 22 minutes to get through it all. Holy shit. But it was well worth it. Man, I did not know about all of that action that went down after the strip club. You really didn't sleep. You slept no hours that night, and you got a nap. What time did y'all wake up on Saturday?
I got in around 10, and I woke up at 12. And that's when we had a lunch at Studio Cafe, and then we went to the UFC show, had more drinking, hung out with this Mexican girl who was 33, and she was hot. And that was awesome. That's when Teddy almost got arrested. And that night I actually slept for like 4 hours. So that was a good night. But the last night I didn't sleep at all. I don't know if you talked to Ed, but the last night we stayed up all night long, chugging vodka, talking shit. That's on YouTube
Sunday
as well.
Sunday night, right?
Yeah, Sunday night, everybody's just completely tired. Our legs are killing us because Dick's just destroyed our legs. Me and Benny were jumping just all night long, and I know you're doing your thing.
I saw the video.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you were there. So everybody's like, fuck, let's just go to bed and get some sleep. And so most everybody went to bed, but it was me, I think Ed, Rodney was not there. Rodney went back to go to bed, apparently. So it was Junior Horseman. There was there's like 3 other people there. But there was like 5 or 6 of us. Hollis was there, the one Euro. Besides Teddy. So we're sitting there, we're just talking, we're just kind of like being really slow, and Ed goes, yeah, man, he goes, I think I'm going to go to bed, man. I'm like, well, Ed, don't you have vodka in your room? He goes, yeah, man, I have 2 bottles, man. I said, well, you can't take that in the plane. He goes, yeah, you're right. And I'm like, well, bring it down here. So he goes and he gets the bottles, and we just take them in the casino right in front of everybody, and we chugged both of those bottles in about 10 minutes, and we went from being tired and hating the world to back on our feet and jumping around and being idiots.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
and
I will throw up everywhere.
I did not know you had such a skill in impersonations, because you've done Ed, you've done Rodney, and you've done Dave, and you've done Brian. Fabulous. Fabulous. I might just book you as the guest from now on, because your Rodney was excellent. My Rodney was terrible when he walked in and I tried to do the Rodney of, oh yeah, man, I'm so sorry. Oh, how y'all do this to me? Yours blew it out of the water.
You do pretty good Rodney though, man. I gotta give you that.
Well,
oh fuck, I was gonna say there's one more thing that I can't remember now. I think it involved you.
Yeah.
There's just so many details to muck through. There's so many details.
Yeah, was that you? Did you capture a lot of the shit on camera?
Well, Highlight, who we can thank for all of our room deals, brought a camera that he got as a $30 deal. I don't know where he got it, but he taped a lot of shit. He taped us getting Granny. He taped the dance party, our dinner, our lunches, and then I think Hollis taped a lot of stuff too. So there's so much video going around. We went up to Fremont Street the last night, and we had a lot of that on camera. There was this really hot go-go dancer, and she looked kind of like Jules with the fucked up teeth. And so I told her that. I was like, you look really hot. She's like, thanks, sweetie. I'm like, you look kind of like Jules. She goes, Jules the singer? I'm like, yeah, but without the fucked up teeth. And she goes, okay, now it's a compliment. I'm like, that's right. But
nice.
Yeah, Long Island iced teas, 80-ounce Long Island iced teas for $15. Me and Cancer and getting fucked up on those, and chugging Crown Royal in the parking lot area, and man, there's a lot of alcohol to be drank, and I really, really kicked myself that I couldn't come the past 3 years, but being a college student is kind of hard. But this year, the funds were right, the timing was right. Took time off work. The people at work knew where I was going, so they told me to come in Tuesday to be really quiet to me. And that's exactly what I needed, because I came in Tuesday and my whole body was telling me to fuck off. It was great.
It was great. Oh, man. To be 24, however old you are. 24? Is that right?
24. Yes, sir. Just turned 24.
Yeah. Absolutely. Happy birthday. Yeah. I could used to be able to go through a 4-night bender, but I don't know. Time takes a toll. And I only was there for Friday and Saturday night, and holy shit, Sunday was a disaster. But that's neither here nor there. We want to hear more about your antics. So if you can think of anything else from the Vegas trip, toss it in. Will you be attending next year? I'm assuming yes.
Oh yeah, I actually WrestleMania as well, because I have my short drive from WrestleMania this year, about a 3-hour drive from Mania in Atlanta.
I'll be there.
So yes, sir. And we're at Raw on Monday, and I was talking to some people. I got about 3 rooms reserved now for me and my crew here in Charlotte. It'll be fun.
For WrestleMania.
It'll be fun. Yes, for
yes.
WrestleMania.
I have my room as well with 3 of my buddies coming, so we'll be rocking it. Now tell me a little bit about Raw. You did tell me you were there. And I don't want to talk wrestling as far as the show goes, but you said you had a sign. You said you had some good seats. Tell me what you experienced there.
We had good seats, no sign. We didn't bring a sign because we got too drunk at the bar before we went.
Okay.
But if you watch Raw again, the first scene where they're calling out the NXT guys, and Wade Barrett called them out, the one where you see Sheffield and I think it was who's the black guy, the thug one?
Tarver?
Yeah, Tarver. When they're walking through the crowd, like the first shot of them, you look over to the left, you see me, you see my buddy Damon and his girlfriend Allison, like right there, and I'm pointing at him and making noises and faces at him. But I mean, it's a good show. The highlight was my best friend, who I just saw get married about 2 months ago. He is the biggest John Morrison mark I've ever seen. I'm talking like he does. I don't know. He does his ab workout like the whole 9 yards. At his wedding, they played John Morrison's theme music, and he did the trumpet thing or whatever Santino does. I mean, he was completely the biggest mark I've ever seen. Like when John Morrison came out, he's never seen John Morrison live. I mean, we've seen Shawn Michaels, a number of times, but this is John Morrison for him. So when he came out, the music hit. I looked at his face. It was like a 12-year-old in 1998 at a Backstreet Boys concert. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my entire life. His hands were on his face. His jaw was dropped. His $25 John Morrison T-shirt, which he bought and then told his wife that he bought it because he wasn't supposed to buy any merch. He was going completely nuts. And then he was obviously mad he didn't win the match. But later on that night, when all the guys were standing on the ramp, they were just kind of hanging out, talking, looking around, and I was trying to scream. I was screaming Team Biggity and holding up the V to see if anybody would say anything, but I couldn't scream loud enough. But damn it, if Eve over there, my buddy Eve, was not screaming at the top of his lungs for John. I'm talking, he just stood up, pulled his shirt up, like flashing John Morrison in his ass. John, over here! You're the man! I love you!
Oh,
John!
my God.
And John, you can tell he can hear him, but he's purposely not looking at him. But everybody else is looking over there and just like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like Miz is kind of looking over there, and Collie's laughing, and Regal is like, fuck you guys, giving us his like scowl. That's my buddy called my limey cunt, and they got really mad about that one. But eventually, like 10 minutes later, he's still screaming. Collie's just laughing his ass off, so he like pokes John in the chest and points over our way. He finally looks over. He looks at Eve. Eve goes nuts. He pulls his shirt up and shows him his titties again. He just kind of like shakes his head and turns back around. And I think that made his entire life right there. And I'm like, you really need to get out more. But he's a married man, so what can you expect?
He's a married man. Who wouldn't want a attractive younger gentleman looking at his abdominal muscles? Come on.
It was, I mean, we had everybody in our section. Like, nobody in our section watched the main event. So it was good.
They were just looking at that nutball?
Yep. And I saw Maurice come out, and I'm like, I'm just one good night at the bar away from making her my wife.
Yeah, you did tell me that you admitted to me over text that I must admit I am in love with Maurice. I was just like, you need to admit that to me? You did not need to admit that. That's a given.
I do. I need to make her Mrs. Klitts. Lady Klitts.
Mrs. Klitts.
Yep.
Well, I probably should not show you those photos I have.
Yeah, Maurice Klitts.
Well, that's a wrestling gimmick.
Yeah, that's a good gimmick right there. But, yeah, man. And another thing is that next year in Vegas, you got to come the entire time, because Rodney told me in the car on the way back, he goes, man, I think next year you got a room with somebody who can hang with you, man. I'm like, what are you saying? It was a bad roommate? He goes, no, man. He goes, but you just go balls to the wall, and I don't think I can hang with you, man. You need somebody that can, like, stay up all night with you, you know what I'm saying? And, go out all night and bring these girls back. And I'm like, I didn't bring any girls back. I told you I'd do it somewhere else. I did a hot tub for you. And he goes, I don't know, I'm saying, like, maybe Fred or something, you know, like, I don't even know if I'll be here next year, but I'm just saying, like, you know, you kind of scared me a couple times. And I'm just like, no.
Oh, Rodney. I love him, man.
Poor Rodney.
He's so genuine. Well, no, next year we got to get him a lady. That's the plan.
I say, like, we were talking about this at our breakfast, which we were pretty drunk still, and talking about
Shocking.
next year. Yeah, having B-52s at breakfast is always fun and a great idea. Well, we were talking about next year, and we were like, well, you know, what if we just got this suite, like had the first night, but had it the entire weekend, like a command center, like somewhere to meet every night. That way nobody's getting lost, nobody's texting and saying, where do we go, what time, how many people can be there. Everybody meets at a certain time at this place. We go there and hang out, and you know that seems like a pretty good idea. And that on top of bringing Lance Storm in, I'm not sure how much of a party anyone could get out of him, but I don't think it'd be shotgun and beers with you and I.
Well, he could drive us around at least. Jesus.
That would work.
I don't know. I think Lance would probably be in bed at 11.
You probably had the highlight of Friday night. You showed up with your Willy Wonka glasses on, and Dave Meltzer sitting there commenting about Kane and Luke Gallows, and then you stand up on this, like, footstool, and you're like, attention! And everybody looks up and see Dave looking up with little Oakleys on the back of his head, and you're over here and you're like, anybody who's not a faggot, come shotgun this beer. And nobody comes from the circle, but everybody starts billowing out from the side rooms. That was the funniest thing. It was like nobody from the Dave circle moved, but everybody else came in there, and we were just started shotgunning beers. And if at the video I recall correctly, that you and I finished first, and then we had time to finish it, burp, put our cans down, and watch everybody else finish.
That is true. I saw the video, yes. We smashed everybody else.
Yeah.
And listen, we're about to go off the air here, but we still have 5 more minutes post-air, so if you want to listen, you're going to have to download that part of the show from WrestlingObserver.com or AngryMarks.com on the radio show section of the forum, or my spot, blogtalkradio.com/The Peach Machine, or just Peach Machine, and you can also read the blog. Don't forget about Angry Marks, TeamVigity.com, Logan's show coming up, the Pro Wrestling Opinion Show, and next week we're looking to have Jakey on the show. That's right, God. Big man Jakey. It's going to be off of every possible hook, and maybe I'll get into a little bit more about the cruise action here because Klitts has had some nice, long, entertaining stories that have made my job very easy. So thank you all for listening to the Peach Machine Parade, and we're going to keep on talking here for another couple of minutes off the air as we shut down here. So again, I wanted to ask you one more thing. You've been doing a lot of work in the bodybuilding forum. We've been tracking your progress. How's everything going? Can we get an update?
It's going good, man. I don't know if anybody knows the whole backstory, but I never lifted a weight until about 5 years ago, and I was in college, freshman year. I was husky, 210 pounds, all body fat, basically. I have long hair, a giant beard. I mean, you could not have recognized me. People who see me now that knew me back then, they're like, this is not you. Like, where's the other Daniel? But so I started, working out. And my main goal was just to lose my weight. I didn't think about bodybuilding. And so, obviously, when you teach yourself, you do it completely wrong until somebody tells you you're fucking up. So, I was working out the exact same body parts every day kind of shit, drinking protein before I went to work out instead of after, all this stuff. But, I went from 210 to around 170, which is where I'm at right now. And
yeah,
it's been, it was rough, man. It was rough at first, but it's good now. Obviously, the Klitts we all know and love now with the ladies, he came about a couple years after he started, losing the weight. So if that's any kind of inspiration for you guys, if you want the lady folk to notice you, just lift the barbell.
Was that your motivation to start, or did you have some sort of
my motivation was there's enough people telling me that, because I was never fat, but I was always a little bit chubby, but I just gained more weight after my freshman year. And I remember I went home for Thanksgiving one year, and I'm just sitting there watching the football game, and my mom looks over and she just patted my belly, and she's like, oh, you've had a couple of beers this year, huh? And I'm just going to look at her, and I'm like, yeah, dude, that hit the wrong wrong button, so I got up and walked out the door and went home that night, which SmackDown was still on Thursdays, and I watched SmackDown in my dorm room on Thanksgiving night alone. Decided that I needed to fucking change my life right there. So, like, I quit cold turkey sodas and alcohol for a little while and the whole 9 yards, and, you know, but it's going good now. Like, I started a pretty strict regimen in January, and I was getting up around 4 a.m., like, every day. And then when the Resolutioners crew came in, they kind of fucked it up. So I got a real gym membership, and I've been going at, you know, nighttime now, but I go 5 days a week, at least 4, if not 5. I take Saturday and Sunday off. I have one cheat day. I'm down to 10% body fat. I'd like to get on to 8, but we'll see what happens, man. You know, it's all about willing yourself to do it. Like, you can't just go in there and do it and have it be a part of your routine. Like, you got to be having kind of a will, whether it be, you know, motivate yourself or to prove somebody wrong or to just feel good. Like, when you start working out, when you've never worked out before and you stop working out, you just feel in your head and you feel in your body, you just feel like you're sick or you're just lagging. Like, when you take your week off, when everybody's got to take a week off every once in a while, like, you just feel so much more like you're just, I don't know, lethargic. And it's just because you're not active anymore. And so, I don't know, man. I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world. I think it's awesome. I think that it's a great time to get rid of your stress. I mean, I'm so much more carefree now than I was. So, and, yeah, man, I think
anybody who doesn't do
it, yeah, and it always helps with ladies. But when you have confidence in yourself, then you have confidence with other people. And girls can see right through that. The smart ones can. They can see right through that, which there aren't many. They can see right through that, that if you're bullshitting or not, and if you have confidence. Like, I'm not going to name any names. There are some guys who just aren't confident, and it shows like no other when they're talking to a girl. Just being down on themselves, down on everything. Like, I don't care if you're down on yourself. Act like you're not down on yourself because they love confidence. They like to be thrown around a little bit. That's how they are, man.
Yeah, pull their hair a little bit, slap them around, call them a bitch. But it's interesting that you said that it's got to be more than just a routine. You got to have a motivation. You got to have that fire that really sparks your interest. Because if you just go to the gym, and I've seen this far too many times, and you're just working out, quote unquote, you're not really accomplishing anything. You're just checking it off your list for the day. And there's going to be days when you feel like that, but you got to go, and you got to go with some passion and some intensity to make it work for you. And I'm glad you found that motivation because, hey, I mean, you're looking great, and, you know, I would advise you to continue, and I'd also advise you to fucking put some updates on my site and put yourself over a lot on my site so that you can get the rewards that way. I want to hear all about it.
I got to take some pictures, and I got to actually post a blog or something about how when I first started working out, I ate Chick-fil-A every day. It was bad.
Now you eat chick pussy.
And speaking of pulling hair, you want to know what this girl said to me the other night? Like, it was really, really ridiculous. Like, we're in the bedroom, and she starts going a little bit nuts, you know, starts talking and shit, which I don't mind talking or pulling hair. Like, I do all that stuff. But she just says, tell me it's my pussy. I'm like, what? Tell me it's my pussy. And I went, it's my pussy. She goes, that's right. That's fucking your pussy right there. And I was like, are you serious? Yeah.
It's attached to you. Whose pussy could it be?
I don't know what she wanted. I choked her, just tell her to calm down. Like, that's almost as bad as like the one time I thumped a girl in the head, tell her to stop giving me a BJ. That was another fun time.
Oh, good God. You can save that story for next time because we're just about out of time. And I would like to thank you, Klitts / Daniel, for coming on and sharing your awesome stories. We'll have you on again down the road here. And